overall. With the touchdown, how many yards did he end up with?
I want to say in the 70s, but let me double check.
I got that one up. 66. Good call. On 8 receptions though, so that was huge. That 8 receptions helped out.
Another day where he sees over a third of the target share, like 36%, roughly 35% of the target share. It's great. Every week's gonna be like that.
Aaron Jones looks further and further out the door for Green Bay, in my opinion. Every week he looks like he's further and further out the door.
I just don't know how you have confidence about anything. Like if you have Aaron Jones on your team, you know which weeks he's going to get just all the touches.
Oh, dude, this guy went live on us.
I see it. 7:31. He says going live.
Thanks, Tyler. Thank you very much,
Tyler.
Sir.
Appreciate you.
Oh, God. Guys, we are live. Sorry for the distraction. We were trying to prep for our show today, but Tyler just hit live. So I guess we're live. So what's going on, guys? I guess I just have to all of a sudden hype myself up and get myself started up. So what's up, guys? What is up, Dynasty Happy Hour? I'm Chase Vernon. I'm here with, of course, Taylor Cornell. What's going on, bud? How are you?
We're back. I missed the last show a couple weeks ago, and I'm finally healthy enough. I was not a healthy scratch. I was ruled out due to illness, but we are back healthy and ready to contribute.
His tummy hurt. That's what happened.
Yeah, my feelings were hurt.
If you guys want to go check out our content, you guys can, of course, find us at @FF_intervention for myself and @_Taylor Cornell over there on Twitter. And, of course, you guys can find us both at Join Our Circle _ if you guys want to check out our content. Now, thank you so much, Tyler, by the way, for throwing the promo code down at the bottom. Let's go ahead and mention who's sponsoring this episode before we actually do get started on this. So, do you guys want to spice your league up? Right?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You do. Okay, great.
Tell me what to do.
What you need to do is you need to get yourself a trophy, a belt, and or a ring over there at trophysmack.com. Yes, that's trophysmack.com. You know why it's called Trophy Smack?
I hope you can tell me why.
I don't know if this is actually factual or not, so please do not quote me on this. But pretty much at your draft next year, you take this giant trophy that you get that's like 4 feet tall and just made of solid material. And during your draft next year, you just go and you smack all your employees across the face with this giant trophy, knock them all out. So that way they don't even know where they're at. And then you can take advantage. Right. It's perfectly right. You can take advantage of the draft next year. Make sure you guys go pick up a trophy, a belt, and or ring at trophysmack.com. And when you do, use code DHHRING to get a $60 ring for free, which, by the way, just as good as brass knuckles, people. Just as good as brass knuckles. Just go ahead. You can get yourself a free ring if you use DHHRING in the promo code. You got to purchase a trophy or a belt, but when you do, you'll get a free ring with it. So, that was a very long intro. It only lasted about 3 minutes and 30 seconds or so. But let's go ahead and kick this show off. Tyler is going to kill me. Well, it's his fault. He made us go live before we were ready. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the slate. Was there any player that really jumped out to you this week that absolutely crushed souls, or I don't know, just stepped all over your league mates over there?
I mean, this guy, this game in particular didn't really kill me, but I would have bet that some of the fantasy managers that had Rams or Seahawks on their team probably were expecting a little bit more firepower there. The Seahawks, the game just went final, put up 16 points. Russell Wilson has 2 picks, no passing touchdowns. DK Metcalf didn't get his first catch to the fourth quarter. It turned out being a Cam Akers game as far as getting the majority of the touches, but he turned that into 38 yards. Cooper Kupp, 5 for 50. Robert Woods, 5 for 33. So I would imagine there was a lot of fantasy relevant players in that game that we were probably hoping with a poor Seahawks defense that the Rams were going to light it up. The Seahawks would be playing catch up. And instead we got no touchdowns from Jared Goff, a touchdown from Alex Collins, and probably not a whole lot of fantasy goodness from that game. So that was probably the most surprising thing I've seen so far from a game, at least in the afternoon here.
Yeah, it was definitely soul crushing. I'm not going to lie. And, when we sit there and we actually bring up some of these, games that happen and some of the more exciting ones, I actually enjoyed the Washington Lions game a lot more than I ever thought that I would. Did you get to check that game out at all?
No, I did not. I was box score watching that one because I have, vested interests among both teams. I thought it was getting away from Washington early, but you look up and, tie game or whatever. So it looked exciting from the highlights I saw, just box score scouting it. There was a couple players there was like this one rookie running back plays for the blue team, and he did all right. But yeah, between Swift and Gibson, Terry McLaurin kept doing his thing. I don't know. Is J.D. McKissick the most valuable player on the Washington football team?
Absolutely not. Get your head out. Just get your head out of the hole, okay? We already know the
targets.
Yeah, he only caught 8 of
them. 7 for 43.
Or 7 of them. I'm sorry, he had 8 carries. Yeah, dude, come on. Get out of here with that. We already know the only playmaker on that offense outside of Terry McLaurin is going to be Antonio Gibson. And guess what? Antonio Gibson played, I think it was either 1 or 2 snaps on the final drive, which made no sense to me whatsoever because Antonio Gibson has been left with nothing this year. Nothing from that offensive line. Nothing from the play calling. And yet he keeps on producing yards. He keeps on producing touchdowns. He keeps on producing receptions. He does everything. And he has gotten no help from his staff. From the coaching staff, he's got no help from any other players on his team, and he's getting pretty much the lower end volume of snaps, which makes no sense to me. I understand you want to protect Alex Smith, but when you're throwing out J.D. McKissick into the flat, and he's sitting there averaging 6 yards per reception, without breaking tackles, without creating yards, like come on, like you could do better than that with Antonio Gibson, but. The reason why I brought up this game is because a lot of people weren't able to watch this game. I think they brought in, I think the announcer was Aqib Talib, was the announcer.
Yep, I saw that.
Oh my God. It was a broadcast. We'll just put it that way. It was a broadcast. It was a game that they thought nobody was going to be watching. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if it had the lowest ratings on the year, but it was probably one of the best games so far on the slate. I mean, it came down to literally a 59-yard field goal as time ran out, that the Lions kicked up. And honestly, like they were both firing back and forth at each other. Lions obviously had the better first half. Meanwhile, Washington had the better second half. But the big thing was we got a lot of fantasy points out of this game. Mm-hmm. Alex Smith threw for 390 yards. He took him 38 attempts, but he still threw for 390 yards. Now, there's no touchdowns and interceptions to be had, but are you somebody that might be looking into Alex Smith moving forward?
No, I don't. I mean, the way that the COVID and injuries has impacted everyone's league, I'm sure there's a league where Superflex you could do worse than Alex Smith, I guess. But I again, it took him 55 attempts. He was 38 of 55 for 390. We've already talked about a lot of that was targeting J.D. McKissick out of the backfield. I think McLaurin is pretty much quarterback proof, so you feel pretty good about him. But outside of that, there's just not a lot of playmakers on the outside that are getting the ball enough. So I'm just not super interested in Alex Smith. I would be shocked if he has a game where he throws it this often. I mean, 55 attempts from Alex Smith in his first start in however many years. I would not have expected that. I'm not interested.
Yeah, I'm not either. I just wanted to try and make it as interesting as possible. That's pretty much what
I can't even spin it, I don't think. Again, it could do worse, I guess, but nah, I'm good.
Now, what was interesting to me, the biggest thing is the fact that, Washington's front seven has been phenomenal so far this year. They've been able to get to the passer. They've racked up so many games where they had multiple sacks throughout the game, but they have lately, as of, I want to say the past 3 games or so, they've struggled to stop the running back. I mean, dude, Swift ran all over them. 5.1 yards per carry from Swift, 5.2 yards per carry from Adrian Peterson, 81 total yards from Swift. And then, we talk about some of the screen passes that he had. And honestly, like it was brutal for that defensive line. So I don't know if it was something as to where DAndre Swift was that great, which I think that DAndre Swift is probably the RB1 in the league right now, just based on my personal opinion. But I'm just kidding, guys. I'm just kidding. It's not the RB1 yet. We have to wait till 2021 for that to happen. But yeah, either way, I know that the Lions' offensive line has been revamped, but DAndre Swift is becoming a guy that I don't know if I can bench moving forward. Now, in the same breath, I also want to see what happens with this Washington front seven, but I think I'm going to trust DAndre Swift almost every week moving forward. Is he matchup proof for you yet?
No, unfortunately not. And this, we're 10 minutes into this, so I'm not going to spend 20 minutes talking about this next point because it could go on for a while. But I think maybe more so than any other year, it feels like to me this is the year that fantasy football players are just pulling their hair out with these decisions that coaches are making or are not making, where they're not getting their best players the ball. Swift was a great example of that. And then you see a game like this where Swift gets 21 touches, 160, 140 yards, something like that. And you assume that they're going to do that again in the future. I just don't trust Matt Patricia. I feel like when Swift cleared that first hurdle early on in the season, I don't know exactly what game number, where he started getting some more snap share, and you're a little encouraged by that. Then the next week he's back down to single digit touches opportunities. So I just don't trust the coaching enough to say he's matchup proof. I would say if he's your RB2, you're probably rolling him out because you've seen the upside now, and you hope that Matt Patricia continues to run and on.
Wait, did we lose him?
You muted my mic, it says.
I didn't do it. That was
Tyler. Oh, he's muting me because I guess I'm not talking of DAndre Swift enough. I don't know. So I got my mic muted. Jeez. No, I wouldn't say he's matchup proof, but I would say as your RB2, you're probably rolling him out there for the upside, and hoping that the coaching staff makes the right decisions going forward.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, everything you just said is in the trash because DAndre Swift is RB1 moving on here on out, but it is what it is. I still like you. All right, so we could talk about Tampa Bay and how well they did, all day long, but it was pretty much going to be a Tom Brady, Bruce Arians type explosion after they sucked so bad last week. So I want to talk about the other side of the ball, and that's Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater went out there 18 for 24 for 136 yards, 2 touchdowns. This looked like the Teddy Bridgewater of old where he couldn't throw it further than 5 yards down the field. Was this a product of the Tampa Bay defense? Or is this more of a product of Teddy Bridgewater kind of reverting to his old self under pressure?
Yeah, and it kind of stinks because at least in my market, I was blessed with the opportunity to be in the Cleveland Browns, Houston Texans market. And that game was delayed at the start due to weather. So I'm watching the start of this game, and I wish I would have paid closer attention. But I feel like Teddy Bridgewater started off the game pretty hot. He had the deep shot to DJ Moore. Then shortly after that, had the 24-yard touchdown pass to DJ Moore. And I was aware that he got injured later in the game. I think it was a fourth quarter. It was pretty late.
Philip Walker was 2 for 4 for 12 yards. So Philip Walker at least played a series or so.
Yeah, and so it was late in the game. So to look at Bridgewater's stats to see he was only 18 of 24 for 136, I was expecting a lot more than that because I knew he had some
62 yards came on 2 passes early in the game.
Yeah, and I guess those are the 2 passes I saw. So I was expecting much bigger numbers from him, and then fortunately for me, the weather cleared up and I got to watch the slugfest between Houston and Cleveland. So I didn't get to catch up the end of the game to see exactly what changed, whether it was a defensive adjustment, or whether it was Teddy Bridgewater reverting a little bit to his old self.
Yeah, it's something else where we need to monitor it very closely to make sure that this isn't a regular thing going forward. But like I said, I think it's more of a steamrolling thing by the Buccaneers more than anything. Now, I do want to touch on a game real quick that I feel like the team is kind of falling apart, not just from injuries, which is something that was given since week 1, but I don't know if the coach is losing the locker room. I don't know if the quarterback's losing his team, because this Philadelphia Eagles as a whole, this offense as a whole, this defense as a whole, they're not playing well at all. I mean, this secondary can't stop anybody outside of the, Darius Slay, esque, I guess, shadow of himself compared to what he was back in the day. They're just able to move the ball pretty much anywhere they want to on the defense outside of the run game. Meanwhile, the offense is just falling apart. You know, we were supposed to have a bunch of healthy players back. We're supposed to have, you know, all this offensive production this week, and it never came. I mean, Richard Rodgers was the top overall pass catcher with 60 yards on 4 receptions. What is going on?
Yeah, I'm not an Eagles fan, and I would bet, you know, if you tapped into that fan base, you would have some people that are saying, like, you know, you got to give a little bit of a pass on this year due to the injuries, because it is an enormous laundry list of injuries to key positions, key players, and things like that. But just from what I've seen as not an Eagles fan, but just watching their games, I mean, I said probably after week 5 or 6 or something, it was about a month ago, that, you know, I was completely out on Carson Wentz because, you know, I feel like this gets thrown around a little bit too much when talking about players, but when watching him play, he just looks broken. Like something does not look right with him at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, you could point to a number of things and say he doesn't have enough healthy weapons. His line is injured, and I get that, but things don't look right with him. And then even when, like you said, you're getting some of these weapons back and you think, okay, Jalen Reagor's back, Miles Sanders is back. Those are going to be 2 explosive players. Hey, Alshon Jeffrey's back. Maybe he opens things up. I'm kidding. But, you know, you see these playmakers come in, and to put up a stinker today against New York, you gave up, you know, I mean, not counting Daniel Jones rushing the ball for 60 yards, you gave up almost 100 yards to Wayne Gallman and Alfred Morris. The defense is bad. The offense is uninspiring. I'm kind of with you on like a culture issue there potentially, because uninspired is just what I keep thinking of when I watch them play. And they're not bringing a whole lot of fantasy goodness either.
I think the Giants are kind of on the other end, opposite end of the spectrum, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, the Giants are playing inspired. This roster is not a great roster. I mean, arguably they have one of the worst, you know, receiving corps in the NFL. And, you know, Evan Ingram can't catch a ball. Their offensive line has 3 rookies starting, or at least they did 2 weeks ago. I wasn't up to date on who started this week, but, you know, when Alfred Morris is putting up 4.2 yards per carry on 8 carries, Daniel Jones is rushing for 64 yards and a touchdown. You know, obviously one of them, I believe, is a 32-yard touchdown.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You know, you have these players going off. Like, it's something to where we can see some inspired football over there, and their defense has improved drastically.
And at minimum, it's 2 weeks in a row, because Gallman and Alfred Morris last week combined for 150 or so against the Washington front 7 that we had talked about. And I was wondering if the Golden Tate drama would kind of unravel this team a little bit from the last week, but it was kind of interesting to then have him come out publicly say, like, hey, I was in the wrong. We put it behind us. Let's roll. And then again, they're not playing great teams to win back-to-back games. I mean, at least they're showing you something. Are you convinced that Daniel Jones, you know, is the answer though, or should, you know, they should stick with him if they have a top 2 or 3 pick this year in the draft?
Well, they won't have a top 2 or 3 pick because they're in the worst division of football.
They might make the playoffs.
They can make the playoffs. They really could. Are they in first place right now?
Sure. I think they're in second, because Philly's 3-5-1. New York's 3-7. So I think they're tied for second.
Oh man,
if I'm not mistaken. They're close, you know, they're like a game and a half out, something like that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm concerned about Daniel Jones, I guess, as if I was a Giants fan, his development as to whether he's going to be, you know, the future there. But he's shown from a fantasy perspective having that upside with his legs, running the ball, sneaky fast guy. You know, 60 yards again today, had the long run a few weeks ago in primetime where he stumbled around. But I mean, he's going to provide at least a okay floor for fantasy.
Dude's like, you know, Teddy Bridgewater 2.0 right now, rushing around the field like crazy, you know?
Right.
All right, so let's hop on to this next game, which was almost an upset. Jacksonville Jaguars 20, Green Bay Patriots 20, or Green Bay Wow.
Whoa.
That was the biggest gaffe I think I've had on a live stream before. Green Bay Packers 24, Jacksonville Jaguars 20. They almost messed up their draft position. They almost did, but they didn't, because Jake Luton, he saved their draft position by completing a little bit over 50% of his passes, 18 completions for only 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And at the tail end of the game, he looked bad. Once they applied pressure, he was done. He looked like he got drafted, or pretty much looked like he got undrafted.
Did you see the 4th down play at the end of the game? Because that was hysterical.
I watched the 3rd down play, I
It,
missed
it
the
was
fourth down.
basically him being pressured, flushed out of the pocket on fourth, and you got to convert to keep the game going, and he throws it out of bounds.
Wasn't it like 4th and 23 or something?
Yeah, he threw like a 7-yard out to James Robinson and let him too far out of bounds, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
That's really funny because I watched it up until that play, and I think I had to walk away to go answer the door or something like that.
Would you call him or the Jaguars, with him at the helm, a Lutton for punishment?
Oh!
Hey, we got jokes. We got jokes.
Yes! Oh, Jay Glutton over there. God, man, this is a mess of a team. Anyway, James Robinson's not a mess. He's not a mess at all. Keelan Cole looked like he had a way bigger game than what he actually had. That was the biggest shocker. Like, I thought Keelan Cole had like 3 touchdowns this game. He was all over the place, man.
Yeah, and I tweeted that I started him on a team that I'm trying to lose for draft position purposes, and he had the punt return touchdown, then the receiving touchdown, and I'm now winning that matchup. So that hurt. But it's so hard with the Jacksonville pass catchers when you've got a very bad quarterback in there that we know doesn't have the chemistry or rapport maybe that Gardner Minshew had with him, predicting who's going to do what. I mean, if you have Chark, you're probably still starting him every single week, but this week he got you 4 for 56. You're pretty disappointed with that. You can't feel comfortable starting him going forward.
No, and let me just say, guys, we did have a sighting, okay? We had a sighting of a player that has to be brought up, and that's Dare Ungumbuale. All right, he had 1 reception for 5 yards. He finally made his appearance in the 2020 season, and guess who drafted him in the SFBX? That's right, I did. What's up? Finally made his appearance. I'm already out of the playoffs, but it's cool. All right, moving on. So, that was so dumb. All right, let's go ahead and talk about MVS moving forward, because MVS is always better when he's not the featured option. He's that deep target type guy, and it's something as to where, he could be a big play guy moving forward, obviously, with Aaron Rodgers liking to air it out as much as he can. Is he going to be a viable fantasy option, or is he just boom bust?
I mean, I think he's boom bust. I can't imagine you're ever comfortable starting him. He had the 78-yard touchdown today. I want to say it was a couple weeks ago. Time's running together these days, but there was a game I was watching recently where he had at least 1, maybe 2, just very bad drops. And whenever that happens, you're thinking Aaron Rodgers is going to stop looking his way.
But he doesn't.
I know. He's blown his chance, and then he ends up going back to him. He scares me when I see him open and the ball's headed that way, and I'm like, is it going to clank off? Is he going to catch it? Luckily it's worked out for him. He had the 149 today. He had 53 last week and 2 touchdowns. One of those being a 52-yard touchdown. So yeah, I think he's going to be boom bust, and you plug him into the lineup and he's either going to get you 25 fantasy points or potentially 1 catch for 19 yards. So
yeah, I don't feel comfortable starting him, but I do like him. If you need some upside. Obviously, he had a huge week this week, but once Allen Lazard comes out, I think his targets are definitely going to take a hit.
That's true.
Same thing with Robert Tonyan as well. He did see 3 catches for 33 yards. Definitely not worth the start. And then Devontae Adams actually got shut down compared to his previous few weeks. He still had 8 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. But yeah, I want to talk about a guy that is probably on his way out of town. And it's because he's worth more money than I think that the Packers willing to pay him long term. And I think the Packers are showing that they can win without him right now. And it's kind of like a stab to the heart because this player is really good. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is going to be a Arizona Cardinal in 2021. He's already signed the contract. We already know it's a lock. No, but tell me your thoughts on Aaron Jones, especially moving forward. He put up today 46 yards on 13 carries and then had 5 catches for 49 yards. No touchdowns, though.
Yeah, and this was the guy we were talking about when Tyler so rudely went live on us there on time. I don't know what he's doing starting us on time. But, he's a guy that last year was obviously exceptional for fantasy with all the touchdowns, still felt like he wasn't used as much as we would have liked to see him be used in the offense. They draft A.J. Dillon. You think definitely going to get used a lot less this year because there's going to be competition. And he starts the year off hot with, the 168 yards against Detroit in week 2, a couple touchdowns. 68 yards receiving that game, just absolutely went off. You think he's back. And now we're back into that. He's not going to get single digit touches. He's going to be in the low to mid teens potentially in his touches. But if he's not scoring a touchdown, he's shown he's efficient enough to provide some floor for you, I guess, somewhat. But if he's your RB1, are you comfortable starting him every single week? I don't know that you are, because you never know whether he's going to be putting up the 100 total yard games or not.
Wait, are you gonna finish your sentence?
Who, me?
Yeah.
I did.
Is that it?
Yeah. No, I was reading as I finished my sentence.
You literally cut it off so quick, and these people that are going to listen to the podcast have no idea why you stopped, by the way, because they can't see the screen.
No, so, I was done. I was just saying, you don't know whether he's going to put up the 100 total yards or whether he's going to be used today, where he has 13 catches and 46 yards.
I think you're just abruptly ended it.
Rushes. Go for it.
All right, so Tyler actually came into the chat. Thanks for joining us, Tyler, by the way.
Hey, Tyler.
Glad to have you in here. This is Tyler. I don't know if you know who he is or not, but he's from Dynasty Happy Hour. Okay, Dynasty Happy Hour is this phenomenal podcast. You guys can check him out. And Tyler wants to know if we could talk about how horrible Kyler's nickname Special K is that Chris Berman gave to him. Now, I actually love the nickname. I think it's a phenomenal nickname because he's special and his name begins with a K. Yeah. So it makes sense. Like, it's a special player named Kyler Murray. So Special K, I think it's great. I think you can't necessarily come to the table with that sort of take unless you have an alternative nickname ready to propose. So if you like something better than Special K, Tyler, feel free to drop that in the comments, and maybe we can get that going viral here to get that nickname to stick. But until then, I think it's Special K, and you just kind of have to live with it. Plus, isn't Special K like one of those fun things that was in one of these movies where it's illegal to actually have, but it's fun to party with or something?
And he's fun. Healthy cereal, I think, is what you're thinking of.
Okay, yeah, but he's fun to party with, so it's cool. All right, so let's move on to a game that just ended in a shocker, an absolute shocker. And I'm talking, like it took all 10 fingers to catch a ball, not just a normal shocker. So we have the Cardinals up against the Bills, where, oh man, we talk about fingers catching balls. Like Hopkins caught this bomb of a ball. Sorry if I'm spoiling it for you, if you DVR'd it or anything like that. But oh my God, Hopkins is an absolute monster, and Kyler Murray, such pretty just delivery with his fingers on the ball to Hopkins. Absolutely loved it. Like is Hopkins a wide receiver one for you? I guess is what I'm getting to.
Yeah, he has to be. And I was one that faded him, right? Before the season started, faded him.
Were you?
Faded him from like he's going to be, high end wide receiver 2, like just outside the top 12. I honestly didn't know he was going to dominate these targets. So he's come in, obviously done that, and that catch at the end of the game was literally in triple coverage. Not 3 guys in the area; it was 3 guys draped on him, and he makes the catch for the game-winning touchdown. So what? He had 7 and 127 today. That one at the end kind of helped save his fantasy day, but 7 127 and a touchdown, and Kyler doing things with his legs again with 61 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So Special K is an elite fantasy quarterback right now, and you got to plug him into your lineup every week, Tyler.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing special things with his legs. He's doing special things with his fingers. He's just shocking us all over the place. So it's something that moving forward, this duo is going to be a force to be reckoned with for at least 3 years until Hopkins moves on and gets old, and Kyler Murray finds a new boo that's a little bit younger. But, moving forward, Josh Allen had an overall phenomenal game. He caught a touch. He should be a wide receiver too. Like they're talking about how Lamar Jackson should have been a wide receiver. Josh Allen should have been a wide receiver. He caught a touchdown pass in the playoffs last year, and he caught another one this week.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this guy's like a wide receiver 1 if he was able to go out there. Like, Josh
makes for a mean fullback as well when he's out there running. So
true.
Kind of do it all.
This guy's like a poor man's Taysom Hill or something.
Yeah, exactly.
No, guys, obviously we had a little bit of an issue with, let's just see, it was John Brown, right? John Brown got hurt. Did he ever come back in the game? I know it was late.
I don't know. I saw somebody say it didn't look good, but I didn't actually see it.
That's something to monitor moving forward. Devin Singletary had pretty much a non-existent game. Same thing with Zach Moss. Outside of Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Cole Beasley, barring John Brown's injury, there's not much fantasy value to be had here moving forward.
One thing I did want to highlight from this game was I think Buffalo was last or close to last, somewhere around there, in the PFF run grade for defense, and they gave up over 200 on the ground today. There's a lot of questions about, do you start Drake this week? He's back, potentially game time decision. If he's back, do you sit Edmonds? And it turns out they all had, decent games. Drake had 100 rushing yards, Edmonds had 56, and then Murray has 61 and 2 touchdowns. So it looks like going forward, you're starting any running back and any mobile quarterback potentially against Buffalo. And hopefully they can stay in these high scoring games, because it's fun to watch Josh Allen and that offense actually have some fantasy relevance with Beasley and Diggs.
God, man, imagine if they actually had a good, possession type wide receiver like Isaiah Hodgins or something to get these red zone targets too.
Imagine.
God, man, can't wait till he comes back. All right, so on to our next game. We have the Dolphins and the Chargers. Dude, the Chargers almost came back, right? Man,
that's flipping the script for them.
Yeah, because normally they give up leads.
Right.
Yeah. So who's the better rookie now? Because, Herbert didn't do anything. 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. He let you down. Meanwhile, Tua, I guess, outperformed. Less yardage, but outperformed what everybody thought he was going to do with 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not going to make a joke on that one. So the real person here, the real winner out of all of these players, isn't Jakeem Grant. It's not Michael Gesicki. It's not Devontae Parker. It's not, of course, Joshua Kelly, who killed me. Kalen Ballage put up another 68-yard game, which is impressive, but he's not even the real winner. Keenan Allen, definitely not the winner with 39 yards. Mike Williams, 38 yards. Kalen Ballage actually had 34 yards receiving, so maybe Kalen Ballage is the winner. But I actually do want to bring up the real winner. And it's a winner that nobody's talking about because he had a bad combine. And I can't even get, the people that are part of my group to do some research on this guy. And I'm begging people, because this guy's actually really good with the ball in his hands. He's one of these underrated players that
sound very passionate. I would like you to please reveal this player to us and what is so great about him.
Well, listen, this player, right? He's a little bit undersized, and he played at a small school. But Salvon Ahmed, the running back that has taken over for Myles Gaskin, has been a thing over the past 2 weeks. I believe last week he averaged 5.8 yards per carry. This week he averaged 4.0, but he had 21 carries for 85 yards, and he had goal line carries too, so that took away from his average. He ended up scoring a touchdown. Dude, this guy, he's not going to be a superstar in this league. But when we talk about potential league winners moving forward, for your championship weeks, pending Myles Gaskin injury, he could be that guy. He's a rookie out there. He's fresh. He has very little game film on him. I really, really love Salvon Ahmed. What do you think about him? Since, obviously you've studied him pretty thoroughly, right?
Yeah, I know nothing about him. I'll say I don't hate whoever the lead back is in this offense. We didn't think it was going to be Gaskin at the beginning of the year. We thought it was going to be Jordan Howard. Turns out they hate Jordan Howard, which is fine because we all hate him. He's not good. But Gaskin comes in, performs well, and then he goes out, and then now Ahmed comes in and he's doing well. So I'm fine rolling with whoever Miami's lead back is. He's going to get the touches. You've seen that now 2 weeks in a row, getting the work. And the Miami defense is good, and I think they have a very balanced offensive attack. They won't be getting blown out in games that would maybe script out the running back. So I'm cool with it. I know nothing about him, but I'm cool with it, man. I picked him up last week.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for picking him up and heeding my advice.
You're welcome. He's
out of Washington, right? And he was a lead back over there, and everybody loved him in his game film. And all of a sudden he put up this terrible combine where, his 40 time was subpar along with other things. And, the fact that he's, undersized would probably be the best way to put it. But this guy is a stud in the making. He had over 1,000 yards on only 188 carries, so 5.4 yards per carry in college. I know that yards per carry is something that people don't like, but I know what people do like, and that's touchdowns. 11 touchdowns on the season last year. I love me some Salvin Ahmed moving forward, and I think he could be a league winner, and he's cheap. He's pretty much free all over the place, at least if you picked him up last week when I told you to. All right.
Yeah, and if you don't like him, it sounds like in the background the police are coming to get you right now. So be aware. You don't hear the sirens?
I have my headset on.
Oh, I thought they were actually like maybe at your house. I just wanted to make sure your doors were locked.
No, my sliding glass door is wide open right now, so I didn't have to deal with my dog. But yeah. All right. Moving forward, I have not even checked the chat to see if Tyler is mad at us for taking so long. All right. The Raiders blew out the Broncos. Was there anything that you want to take from this game?
Drew Lock sucks. That's pretty much it. I'm not on the Drew Lock thing. I never really was, so it's not hard for me to jump off a train that I had never boarded. But 4 picks today. I don't know if I believe that the Raiders are as good as their record right now. They're also a weird team for fantasy. You know, you've got Josh Jacobs putting together a game. I think he hadn't had really a monster game since week 1. He had 112 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns today, 24 yards receiving. So he kind of got back involved in the passing game. But then Derek Carr only had 150 passing yards. So Waller didn't have a big game. Ruggs hasn't had a big game. Edwards is gone. Aguilar didn't have a good game. So it's weird that you had the Raiders put up 37 points and really, unless you started Josh Jacobs or Devontae Booker, you didn't get a whole lot of fantasy relevance out of it. I think now is probably, you know, if the opportunity is there to buy into a Jerry Jeudy, I'm all about it, because I think the fact that he's still putting up decent numbers with Drew Lock says a lot. And you know, if you're on the record as saying they're going to get a vet next year, right, at quarterback?
Yeah.
So imagine whoever you think going there, throwing to Jerry Jeudy as the number 1 or number 2 with Sutton back. You know, not necessarily that you're going to be able to buy low on Jeudy, because you know he did just have a great game last week, I believe. But a buying window at least maybe potentially exists because of Drew Lock, and that's the kind of thing you're looking to do to acquire these guys before they're at their peak value.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better to myself, to be honest.
Thank you.
That was lyrical beauty. Meanwhile, I'm over here trying to get a post going, and I don't even include the link to the actual Google site. So honestly, like, you pretty much said everything that I wanted to say. I don't have anything to add to it, but
I just read the script you gave me, Chase.
Oh, I forgot I pre-typed that for you. On to the Bengals and the Steelers.
Hey, who dey?
Somebody that lost by 26 points is who they are. Tell us what happened. You got this whole entire game because obviously being the resident Bengals fan.
Well, you know, I don't want to, again, take up too much time with this game. I did start my day off, literally woke up inspired with a Joe Burrow poem in my head. I tweeted it out, tagged Joey B in it. I'm assuming he didn't see it because he did not seem to be playing extremely inspired today. I mean, this was a matter of, the Steelers are obviously far superior right now. I'm a little surprised they're 9-0 because they're not a perfect team as far as, Ben Roethlisberger is again tugging at his elbow after he falls down. James Conner doesn't look like a very special player. 13 for 36 today, and the Bengals defense is bad in general. So, he didn't pop off. So that's the Steelers aren't I'm shocked that they're 9-0, honestly. And I wasn't expecting the Bengals to win this game. It was just a matter of, I think sorry, I shouldn't say we. I believe the Cincinnati Bengals were down 2 or 3 defensive backs. So other than William Jackson, they didn't have, they were starting like JV guys. So that would be why Deontay Johnson, Juju, and Claypool all saw double-digit targets, all scored at least 1 touchdown. Deontay paced them all with 116 yards. So those 3 receivers really went off today. And, just one of those throwaway games for the Bengals unless you had T. Higgins.
So did the wind affect anything?
Early on in the game, it kind of looked like it did. Roethlisberger had a deep pass he threw that went way out of bounds. Burrow had one that he tried to kind of throw across the field that seemed like it kind of died. But after that, I didn't really notice, too much being impacted by it. Ben had a beautiful deep ball to Deontay pretty early in the game too, and then hit Claypool on another deep one as well. So I think it was Claypool. So I don't think it was as big of a deal as people might have thought it was going to be coming into the game.
What did Higgins finish up with stat-wise?
115 and a touchdown, led the team with 9 targets. So he was right around a little under 25% target share for them.
Yeah, so 14 yards after halftime, right? Cool. Just wanted to make sure.
Who cares when he gets it? If he's in your fantasy lineup, 115 and a touchdown, you'll take it.
I just want to make sure I rub it in Mike's face later. So we have another game that was a little bit of a shocker. We had some really angry people on Twitter today. Some really angry people on Twitter.
Just today?
Oh, yeah, you're right. But specifically about this game, the 49ers and Saints.
Yeah.
Because Drew Brees came out, and we had some diehard Taysom Hill people that they got mad that Winston took over the snaps. And I'm like, that's what's going to happen. Like,
shocked. I am shocked.
How old is Taysom Hill now? Like 32, 31?
I think he's 32.
Yeah, so you're going to have, what, a 32-year-old quarterback take over for 3 or 4 years? Like, come on, guys. Like, Jameis Winston, if they hold on to him, is the quarterback of the future. And Taysom Hill will forever be that great backup that gives you other dimensions. You know, if they thought he was the future backup and Drew Brees could retire this year or next, they wouldn't be running him out in these packages at 32 years old when the guy hasn't played full seasons up until he was, 28, 29?
Yeah.
So, but what happened with this game? Because I saw Brandon Ayuk score, right? Like, I thought it was going to be competitive, but the Saints just steamrolled them a week after they steamrolled Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I didn't. Again, it's like another one of those weird games where the Saints put up 27, so you're assuming Brees probably had a decent game. Michael Thomas might have got one of those touchdowns. Kamara probably got his, and you got nothing. You got a touchdown out of Brees, but 76 yards before he got injured. I don't know how much time we want to spend on Michael Thomas. He was second on the team with 7 targets, but he turned that into 2 for 27. So Michael Thomas fantasy owners continue to be disappointed with him in 2020. Outside of Kamara, the Saints I feel like they didn't really need much going against the depleted 49ers. Kamara had 83 receiving yards and a touchdown, and then 2 rushing touchdowns, both pretty short. So, I mean, he's pretty much their offense right now until Michael Thomas gets rolling, and at least for now, I guess it's working.
He had like 2/3 of their yards and all of their touchdowns.
Yeah.
Kamara's the real deal, guys. He really is. All right, so for tonight, let's go ahead and make some bold predictions for tonight. I don't think we've ever done that before, but might as well do it, right?
Yeah. I'm not big on the bold predictions, so maybe you should start.
Well, let's go with Cam Newton throwing for 6 touchdowns. Meanwhile,
okay.
I think Jacoby Myers has a good game. We'll see what happens with it, obviously. And people who listen to this podcast are probably listening to it tomorrow morning being like, hey, these guys are idiots because, they just predicted everything completely wrong. But we're going to take a shot on this. Jacoby Myers should have a decent game. I like Rex Burkhead in this one. And J.K. Dobbins should be solid overall. Meanwhile, the Patriots, they tend to get beat deep. So if Devin Duvernay or Marquise Brown could get behind the defense.
Gilmore's out, I believe.
Yeah, if they can just get behind that defense, right? If they can get behind the defense, and then of course if Lamar Jackson can hit them just once or twice, you can see some big time plays from some of these playmakers.
I know we've been saying Marquise Brown is due pretty much all season, and I spent a lot more time this week than I anticipated one day looking into Marquise Brown's usage last year, his usage so far this year. Really not a whole lot has changed. He's being used pretty similarly. I guess Lamar Jackson's accuracy is pretty similar, except for he hasn't hit on a couple of those deep balls. Marquise Brown started last season with the huge game against Miami, I think.
Keep in mind, he also got injured though last year in game 2.
Yeah, and then he missed a bit of time. I think Marquise Brown's due, and I'll call it this game, I guess, like everyone else has every other game of the year. I'll say 125 and a touchdown tonight. And I think Cam Newton has a fine game tonight. Let's say I say a fine game, and then I'm going to spit out some stats that are nasty, but I'm going to say he has at least a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown to keep him relevant for fantasy.
Cool. I don't know if Tyler actually wanted that from us, but he just got it. So
who cares?
Oh, who cares, man? We're just spitballing here. All right, guys. Bob's in here. I love Bob, man. Bob's been awesome. He's been such an addition to our team as well. So huge shout out to Bob.
Shout out, Bob.
Hi, Bob. I actually have the Ravens 24 and the Patriots 14. So we'll see how that goes. But I trust Bob. Bob's a good guy. You know Bob. If you don't know Bob, go add Bob on Twitter. Bob Gilchrist. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all for coming in. Hey, Tyler, do you want to throw that promo code back up on the screen so I can read it again and have another excellent read? But yeah, no, so if you guys have a chance, of course, to check out Dynasty Happy Hour, make sure you guys do that. Make sure you guys hit subscribe if you're listening to this podcast. But the biggest thing that I need you guys to do is spice up your league real quick. Just give it, some spice in your life, just like the Spice Girls did. And the way that you're going to do that is by getting yourself a trophy, belt, and or ring at trophysmack.com. Use code DHHRING to get yourself a $60 ring free with a purchase of a trophy or a belt. Once again, that's trophysmack.com. Use code DHHRING. So that way you can use it as brass knuckles and smack your league mates in the face. Guys, I appreciate y'all for coming in. Taylor, where can we find you?
On Twitter, @_Taylor Cornell. Always spewing the deepest of thoughts related to food, related to fantasy, and all in all, having a lot of fun.
I've never seen your food take ever.
I just had a great food take. Cereal at night is 20 times better than cereal in the morning. And it got a lot of traction. Yeah.
Guys, y'all can find me at FF_intervention. Once again, that's FF_intervention. Thank you all for tuning in. And thank you guys for being a part of the Dynasty Happy Hour family.
Happy week 10.
What?